The movie I chose is Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. This movie was made in 1974. In this movie, there's a woman named Alice who is married to a man named Donald, and they have a son named Tommy who is 11. Alice and Donald's relationship is very weird. She is constantly trying to please Donald, and he is never satisfied. He has a very bad temper, and he's just never happy, and that makes Alice unhappy also. She loses Donald unexpectedly one day in an accident at work, and although they didn't get along, she was obviously devastated because that's her husband. So she decides to move her and Tommy out of their home and move to her hometown where she grew up in Monterey, California. But she has to make stops along the way there to make money for them, and she wants to do singing at those stops. In her first stop, she does get a singing job at a little bar, and then she meets a guy named Ben, and pretty much falls into the same thing that she did with Donald. She was not happy, and she finds out that Ben was already married and abusive to his wife. So her and Tommy leave that night and go to their next stop, and at that stop she couldn't find a job singing, so she had to settle as a job as a waitress at a diner. And she meets a man named David, and her and David had some fights, but he came to the diner one night to apologize and said that he wanted to go to Monterey with them and take them the rest of the way. So that's what they do, and that was pretty much the end of the movie. The main character of the movie is obviously Alice, and Alice is a very dependent person. She feels the need to depend on someone else, specifically a man. She is also very trusting. She trusts way too easy, and she trusts the men too easy and doesn't find out who they are before she falls into their trap. The lesson of the movie is pretty much to not be completely dependent on someone else. You have to learn to be dependent on yourself and to not be miserable to make someone else happy. Your own happiness matters too. Overall, this was a pretty good movie. For a movie that was made in 1974, the quality of the movie was pretty good, and there were good characters, and the lesson was pretty good. So thanks for listening.